Good afternoon. I would like to talk to you a little bit about using a unit normal table. So when you open a unit normal table, like in a textbook or something like that, you're going to see some things like this, where you've got A, B, C, D. A is usually your z-score. So what you do is you look for the shading, and the shading represents the part that you are trying to find out. For example, if you want to know if something is below a score, your shading would be here. If it was higher than a score, your shading would be there. If it's in between the end and the middle, wait a minute, I said that wrong. Sorry. If it's in between the top and the bottom, so you're looking for the middle or something in between, it gets a little tricky there because your best bet is to go from your mean to wherever if it's evenly split. But this is a really good tool because say you need the middle 40%, you would find the mean to 20 and multiply it by 2 and then subtract it from the middle. So my advice for using a unit normal table is pretty simple. You draw a picture and you shade in the portion that your question is asking you to find. Sometimes you're going backwards and you're just trying to find a line that separates, say, the upper 25 from the lower 75, or vice versa, the lower 25 from the upper 75. You have to shade that in. That way, when you go to look up your proportions, you are looking at the right one. You write out all your variables. This helps because when we get to the next step, the unit normal table is based off of z-scores. So if you don't know if you have an x and you need a z-score, then you're going to have to transform it into a z-score. If you have a percentage and you need to find an x, which I explained down here, if you have a proportion or percentage, you need to find an x, you then need to find the z-score related to that proportion and convert it to an x. If you have a z-score, need a proportion, you look it up in the unit normal table. So it gets a little tricky. I always recommend that you write out the z-score formula, take these that you already know and fill it in. So if you have x and you need z, if you have z and you need x, obviously you're going to need the, if you have a proportion, you can find the z and then convert it to an x. So that is my advice. So we're going to do one real quick. Okay, I've kind of laid this out for you already. So, if I take a random sample and I want to know what percentage of the scores should be above 42. So, I have my normal curve. I know that my mean is 36.75. My standard deviation is 9.27. What do I want to know? I know that my x is 42. But I want to know how many percentage. So I'm going to, since I know that 42 is within one standard deviation, we're going to draw this guy right here and label him 42. Do I want to know above or below? I want to know above. So I'm going to shade this guy in. There we go. I have already done the math. I can see that my z-score is 0.57. Over on my computer, I have pulled up the unit normal table. So I am going to show that to you now. So you can see I have my unit normal table. You can see where it shows the pictures that define. I'm going to click this guy here so I can get the full table. takes a minute. Okay, so I am looking for a z-score of 0.57. Did I pass it? Nope. Okay, but I want to know the portion that is above. So would it make sense if I want to know the portion that is above 42 with a z-score of 0.57? Would it make any sense at all for me to say, oh, that's 71.57? Does that sound right if I look at my picture? It does not. So I'm going to use 28.43 because that makes more sense since 42 falls on the right side of my mean. Let me get my set up here. So I've shaded, I've identified my variables, I've done my formula and found my z-score. I've looked at my unit normal table and found out that my percentage of scores that lies above 42 is 0.2843. And that is how I would want to write my answer. And that is how you find a percentage from a z-score and an x point, and how you kind of go through that conversion process. Thank you and have a nice day.